Greetings, everyone. Great to be with you. Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks you for everything you do by the way of learning, growing, and serving. Our presentation today is entitled Working in Silence. We have access to an increasing range of technologies for entertainment and communication, while our disciplined and thoughtful selection of such external stimuli can be helpful and enriching. We need to take care not to overindulge in distraction. We need to have a balance with our internal stimuli, cultivated by our practice of meditation, reflection, and critical thinking for us to learn and grow in understanding. Choosing at times to work in silence has just such a restorative and tonic effect. To explore this further, I want to show you a rather remarkable work of art that bears on working in silence. You see before you a work now that's entitled Spring in the Country. It's by the American artist Grant Wood, and it dates from 1941. Grant Wood was an artist that's much beloved and as remains to this day. He became quite well known to the world through his painting entitled American Gothic, which shows two persons in front of a farmhouse. In this work here, in a similar spirit, you find two persons working what appears to be in silence. There's a deep calm in the way he's done the work. You can see the planting that's going on in spring, the hoeing. There's the flowers in the lower right. There's the flowers in the tree in bloom towards the mid-ground on the left. You can see a person with a plow coming up the hill. You can see the various geometric shapes that are formed in the undulating hills and the cattle in the mid-ground to the right. And then far off, we see farm buildings and barns, and we see the clouds appear to be cumulus clouds following in rows, passing over. You almost get a sense of for a degree, you get a sense of the curvature of the earth. We'll have an experience of this as we rise to the heights of the celestial sanctum in our meditation shortly. You notice the pattern that's forming in the plowing, because they keep forming these concentric squares as the plowing is done. You get even more of a sense of that. Let me show you another work by Grant Wood. This one's entitled Spring Turning, painted 5 years earlier in 1936. These are paintings in the later stages of his life. You see the wonderful undulating and beautiful green of the hills, but also the rich soil that's being tilled in turn. And you can see, as we zoom in, we see the farmer here working with the plow and the horses in the two colors. We see the effects of the shadow. For example, in the lower left here, we see the posts from the fences with the shadows, but we also see the hill gradually darken as we move down to it. Gives a very strong sense of three-dimensionality through the law of suggestion. If we move back up and zoom out again, we see those great undulating hills, and we see the farm buildings here. We see the appears to be cattle and others at work in the plowing, giving that geometric shape, beautiful imagery of the square and its symbolism. And also again, appears to be cumulus clouds right in their rows passing over the earth. This in a way gives us a sense of rising up, moving up, experiencing what's happening on the ground level, but also that larger view that one gets when one rises up over the earth, either being in a helicopter or a plane or a balloon or in our own celestial ascent. We know that Grant Wood was renowned for his depictions of rural American Midwest. And the style that he partook of was a regional style. He had seen great masters, for example, some of the Flemish masters in Europe, and he adapted that style to a unique American expression, his own unique way of expressing himself in genius. Just like we're called upon through our contact with the master within to come into our own unique expression of the master within, yet universal in terms of its uplift and the deeper lessons of life. Again, we get a sense of the person plowing the horses, that they're working in silence. They're appreciating the great specter of nature all about them. They're seeing the great rebirth of spring with them. And he wanted to remind Americans, particularly at that time, of the challenges they've had with the Depression economically, and also with the challenges of the looming and continuing war, World War II in Europe and the United States, beginning to take part in that or moving towards that. That there was these great experiences in the United States that were worth protecting, worth building up, worth preserving and extending, something to be enriched by, and something to be proud of, and something to continue on. So too in our own life, the things that we find of value that are guided in our conscience to maintain, pass on to others and future generations. I've been taking in this uplifting view of working in silence, and the deep sense of silence yet dynamic action that's taking place on the ground and upwards in the clouds, suggestive of the heavens. I invite you now to turn inward, and we'll have a period of meditation, and we'll work in silence in our own way. Silence in this sense has multiple meanings that we'll go through in this presentation and during our meditative experience now. So I invite you, however you're situated, if you're lying down, or if you're seated, however your position, close your eyes, or at least bring your eyelids down as much as you're comfortable of, so you can reduce the amount of visual stimulation. In a way, we're entering the silence. Let's just let go of the cares of the day. We were applying the law of silence in doing so. I assure you, after the period of meditation, we'll come back all stronger, re-energized, all the more competent to handle whatever we need to do. So let's use this as a mini retreat partway through the day to be restored, to be re-energized and rested. To do this, let's apply the law of purification by concentrating on the discipline of the breath. Not discipline in a sense of harshness, but discipline in a sense of system and order. To increasingly appreciate through our experiences in life, our mastery of life, and our weekly Rosicrucian lessons. I invite you to breathe deeper than usual to a degree comfortable. Feel your diaphragm expanding, feel your lungs filling. Feel all the more what the Rosicrucians refer to by the acronym BLF, the vital life force, particularly its positive polarity, cosmic essence. And I invite you to extend your exhalation longer than your inhalation. Feel with each such breath, for each such occasion, by extending the exhalation longer than the inhalation to be comfortable. You'll find that there's a automatic and building or cumulative relaxation response. Increasing experience of calmness, of equanimity, of equipoise, tranquility, of imperturbability. Let's just follow the breath, for the mastery of life is the mastery of the breath. And we can get in the habit of taking deeper breaths to be comfortable and extended exhalations longer than inhalation, not only during our formal periods of meditation, but as a habit through parts of the day or throughout the day. As challenges come up, start to feel a little overwhelmed or anxious, let us breathe deeper. Let us extend the exhalation longer than the inhalation. Or if we've been doing those things already, we find that we're calmer throughout. We can handle more easily. Breathing helps us to emphasize the silence, the enrichment, the ennoblement. And we think, well, how can a simple action of breathing help me so much? Well, I invite us to do so and have it demonstrated. All the subtle physiology of the body and the psychic body is activated as we learn with our weekly lessons in the Rosicrucian program work, with exercises like we're doing now and many more. Just continue to follow the gentle rhythm of the breath. If you find your mind wandering, just lovingly and gently bring it back to the inhalation and exhalation. No need for any self-negativity in this or anything else. This way, this practice can transform our lives. I think you may be feeling increasingly a tingling in your toes and in your fingers, starting to circulate throughout your body. An enriching tingling of the vital life force. It's there all the time, but we're enriching it, intensifying it, and also becoming more sensitive to it. So there's a dual action going on to increasingly experience it now. But even as you experience it, let go of it and remain anchored and centered in the breath. And feel all that you can feel. Feel in all that can be felt. And remain centered on the breath. And let's have a period of dynamic silence as we work in silence together now. Soon we'll continue our period of meditation by applying the instructions, the Central Rosicrucian meditation booklet entitled Liber 777. We'll continue to apply the law of silence because between the well-chosen words, there will be silence. So we deepen our contact with the divine within. Now let's continue to apply the law of purification we did through our breathing exercise, using the following prayer and invocation given in the booklet, Liber 777, which I invite you to say with me now. May the divine essence of the cosmic infuse my being and cleanse me of all impurities of mind and body, that I may enter the celestial sanctum and attune in pureness and in worthiness. So mote it be. Now let us use our full imaginative capacity and all our psychic faculties to sense ourselves rising up wherever we're situated, in our office, in our home, or another building. Rising up on the work of architecture where we're at beneath us, and rising up on our neighborhood or our country area, just like in the painting by Grant Wood over the undulating hills. You can look down and see our village or our town or a city or the countryside, and feeling the exhilaration of rising higher and higher up. So we mentally create this ascent or visualize this ascent and experience this ascent. Now up over our county and even our province or state, see the different weather systems and water systems and land systems, transportation systems below. Hence the great system and order. The human-built environment mirroring the great handiwork of creation best. So can you rise up higher and higher, faster and faster? You look down now on our great nation or country, and now even the continent where we dwell, now even this hemisphere, and now the entire beautiful blue jewel of the earth, the temple of the earth, rotating about its axis. So we see beautiful, shining white ball, a moon, satellite revolving about the earth. As we look up, going faster and faster, we see other parts of the solar system, including the beautiful elliptical orbits of the other planets, and the great fiery ball of the sun, and all the fusion activities and tremendous energy there of physical and psychic nature that we sense now. And let us continue to go faster and faster past our local star and planets, even to the outer reaches of our home, the solar system. As we continue out, we take in quasars and pulsars, black holes helping balance the universe, other stars and nebula and asteroids, planets and rogue planets, cosmic web connecting the stars, the galaxies. I wonder it all through the nebula. So we go faster and faster, way beyond the speed of light as we transcend space and time now. And apply the law of correspondence as we go higher and higher into the cosmos. At the same time, we'll get corresponding action of going deeper and deeper within ourselves to the presence, the divine within, the master within, our true guide in nature. So we rise up higher and higher, right out from, passing out from our home, the Milky Way galaxy. We see other galaxies and stars as we look back at the beautiful spiraling action about its center, the Milky Way galaxy, the great spiraling arms. Let us rise higher and higher, going deeper and deeper in ourselves at the same time. Sense what Rosicrucians refer to as the great sea of vibrations shown on the cosmic keyboard as we pass from one octave to another, the vibrations doubling as we take in all the vibrations of the cosmos, and increasingly experience what the Rosicrucians refer to as the cosmic. That is the universal intelligence back of the cosmos and all the natural and spiritual laws that are at work throughout the macrocosm and ourselves as a microcosm, mirroring the macrocosm and the microcosm and the macrocosm. You to rise up faster and faster and enjoying the exhilaration of the ascent way beyond the speed of light. Sense the great system and order of it all, mirroring the great system and order within us. Seeing countless stars and galaxies. We start to sense that the universe itself is rotating about a great cosmic axis, spoken of since ancient times. When you sense the presence of that cosmic axis, speed towards its midpoint. And when you reach it, slow up and let us dwell in silence, taking in this stupendous and awe-inspiring action of the cosmos, the temple of divine, rotating all around us. Now let us apply further instructions of the booklet Liber 777 by mentally creating or visualizing our personal celestial sanctum, our sacred space. It may be an inspiring temple back on earth. It may be the awe-inspiring temple of the cosmos, the temple of divine all about you. It may be an inspiring place in nature back on earth, which is sacred grove, or a high hilltop or mountaintop, with a vast view over an ocean or sea or lake by its shore. Feel in the sights and sounds and the impressions of all the senses. Feel the emotion, the upliftment, the exhilaration of being at this high point of consciousness. You may wish to kindle this action, get the spiritual fires burning even stronger by recalling some inspiring experience you've had of a spiritual or mystical nature, some powerful experience of love or well-being you've had. Let it build up and charge this experience. So we build up this mental creation, make it real, make it vital. You may wish to sense the presence of others on this conference call with us. The presence of the Grand Lodge and Supreme Grand Lodge officers of the Rosicrucian Order Amor, conducting sacred convocation ritual at the heights of the celestial sanctum. In the very presence of the visible and invisible masters. You need to build up the mental creation. Enjoy it as your birthright. Feel the increased attunement with the cosmic as we do this. Soon I'll indicate when we can release our mental creation and visualization. They used to picture incense rising up, symbolizing the law of transmutation, how we rose up to the heights of the celestial sanctum. Beautiful works of art or stained glass windows depicting Rosicrucian and mystical laws and principles. An awe-inspiring and wondrous place. The center of the cosmos, the center of our being. And when you're ready, we'll release this mental creation or visualization into the subconscious mind and into the cosmic mind. We'll concentrate on its manifestation. Let us release it now by saying, if it pleases the cosmic, it is done. So mote it be. And let us dwell in silence. Let us work in silence in the celestial sanctum. Simply be receptive. Let go. Feel all there is to feel and surrender to the divine within now. Now let us continue our meditation period by applying another spiritual operation of the work and worship of the Rosicrucian order, Hemlock. I invite you to join me now in the work of the Silent Council in conjunction with the Council of Solace, the Grand Lodge of the Rosicrucian order, Hemlock, by radiating love and well-being from the depths of our being, from our hearts and minds, like a great floodlight moving out into the cosmos, reaching all those who petition the Grand Lodge of the Rosicrucian order, Hemlock, for guidance and healing. And let us radiate love and well-being like a tremendous flow out from us, filling the cosmos. To all those who petition the affiliate bodies of the Rosicrucian order, Hemlock, for guidance and healing. And let us radiate love and well-being to all those who know are in need of guidance and healing. And finally, let us radiate love and well-being to all sentient beings throughout the cosmos who are in need of guidance and healing. Let the flow speed up. First, use great inner spiritual force. Gradually surrender to the divine within, who knows how best to do this. At a certain point, I think you'll find the flow speeds up even more, and you know you're reaching those in need. At a certain point, too, I think you'll find you don't need to make any conscious effort. The flow will come from deep within to all those in need. And when that happens, continue to surrender and experience this great healing flow. Now, soon we'll formally conclude this period of sending of metaphysical aid, but we'll continue our meditation period a while longer. In undertaking this flow, we'll be assured that it will continue from the depths of our being as a way of life, as part of our mission in life. Formally conclude this period of working with the Silent Council in conjunction with the Council of Solace. I invite you to say with me, cosmic law fulfills. If it pleases the cosmic, it is done. So mote it be. Now let's continue our meditation from the heights of the celestial sanctum. Let us apply the law of cosmic attunement and the law of assumption now. I invite you to let your mind expand out even further, filling the cosmos. uniting with the cosmic mind, being the cosmic, experiencing as the cosmic experiences, assuming the cosmic now. One with the one. Consciousness of the cosmic. Now, having been so enriched and ennobled, we'll soon formally conclude our period of meditation. We'll take this upliftment into our daily life. This cosmic consciousness informing and back of all our forms of consciousness and living. Having applied the law of silence, the law of assumption, the law of cosmic attunement, the law of service, and over 40 other Rosicrucian laws and principles, I invite us now to invoke the law of gratitude. You wish at this time to radiate your thanks and gratitude to all those who have taught you well. And radiate your thanks and gratitude to all those who have loved you well. And radiate your thanks and gratitude to all those who've sacrificed well on your behalf. And through the law of gratitude, we intensify the application of the law of cosmic attunement. And through the law of silence, we intensify this energy within us even more. Having experienced the law of correspondence, how the microcosm that we are is mirrored and matched the macrocosm. We've united with the divine, soaked up the divine as our true nature and guide. Now let us begin our descent from the heights of the celestial sanctum, going at tremendous speed way beyond the speed of light as we transcend space and time past the myriad galaxies, nebula, stars. Experience once again the great music of the spheres, the harmony of the spheres spoken by ancient times. And later is a great inspiration for all artists and creators back on the temple of the earth. Past the great cosmic web connecting the stars and galaxies. And we see in the distance the great spiraling galaxy that is our home, the Milky Way. Let us plunge into the arm where we dwell, past myriad stars and nebula again. the black holes helping balance the universe, planets and rogue planets, and comets, the wonder and beauty of it all. So we can see in distance beautiful elliptical orbits, the planets of our solar system, our local star, the sun, its great work and radiations to us as we radiate to it, back to the temple of the earth. And the hemisphere where we left off, our continent, our great nation, country, our province or state, back to our county. We come to our local geographic area, our village, our town, or city, and now our neighborhood. And invite you to say with me the following prayer and invocation. May the God of my heart sanctify this attunement of self with the celestial sanctum. So mote it be. And let us continue our descent back through our neighborhood, our home, our office, building where we left off. Back in the room where we're situated, seated or lying down or otherwise. And feeling rested, re-energized, remade, regenerated, reintegrated. You may wish to stretch your arms and your legs and move your fingers and toes and open your eyes and feel all the more competent, all the more yourself. Being the consciousness of the cosmic already within us more further realized. Now we begin our presentations again. And on this topic of working in silence. As mentioned earlier, we need to have a balance with our internal stimuli cultivated by the practice of meditation, which we just did, but also by reflection or contemplation and critical thinking and related inwardly focused activities for us to learn and grow in understanding. So by choosing at times to work in silence, like we just did during our meditation period, we can have just such a restorative and tonic effect. Indeed, the great truths of life will come through inner dynamic silence. During our celestial sanctum period, we were silent in order to be receptive in this manner. We think back over the annals of mysticism, we see various standing examples of practice of the law of silence. For example, the Pythagorean tradition, which the Rosicrucian tradition builds up from, among other traditions. Pythagorean aspirant had the discipline of practicing silence for 5 years to prepare themselves for initiation into the mysteries. That is the gnosis, the deep knowing. And during this period, their powers of observation were enhanced. Their willpower was built up, increasingly identified with the divine, the will of the divine. And their devotion was tested and demonstrated. They were ready for the deeper truths and understanding in life. Now, through silence, internal energy is built up, just like we had a chance to experience during meditation period, and we're experiencing now. When that energy is built up within us, our conscience is intensified. And we have impressions on how to act from the master within for well-guided action and service. This is part of the great value of meditation in taking time to reflect or contemplate. In this way, we apply the law of balance, or the law of moderation, because we work with both the inner and external stimuli. In addition to these practices I've mentioned, when we do our daily chores, for example, we may find that we'd like to turn off the radio or the television and similar and work in silence. And this silence can refer to letting go of wide-ranging external stimuli, such as sounds, auditory or sight, visual, taste, smell, or touch. It can also mean a deeper inner silence that we go into during meditation and working in silence. The silence can mean letting go of internal chatter within us and mind wandering. Again, not to have any self criticism or be hard on ourselves. It's part of developing what psychologists would call attentional control. Um, and then we can stay on task more. Thinking about, benefits of silence in its various forms and the key values of it. I think of, for example, it can be what can be known technically as reduced cognitive fatigue. We're less tired, particularly in the brain, because when our brain is constantly filtering out background noise or conversation, it drains our energy. The silence allows our auditory system and mind to, some would call it technically, recalibrate and restore capacity for sustained attention. These and many more things have been demonstrated in recent science, but mystics and Rosicrucians have known down through the centuries. Another scientific development that's been known to Rosicrucians through the centuries is that by removing that external stimulus or inputs, the brain and the mind goes to its what could be called its default mode network. And that activates, fosters self-awareness, self-compassion, the act of reflection, and what some would call out of the box problem solving today, or novel thoughts, but is intimations through the subconscious from the divine within, the master within. And that allows us stimulated brain growth and creativity. Also, silence and working in silence lowers our anxiety or reduces our anxiety and our stress. Noise pollution acts as a stressor, and it raises our adrenaline and blood pressure. When we work in complete silence, we know scientifically, but also through Rosicrucian studies, that it relaxes the nervous system and it leads to lower cortisol levels compared to working with speech or music playing in the background. And cortisol, we know, as the body's primary stress hormone, brings the fight or flight response back, and then we can move to the baseline, to the working in silence. Also, by working in silence, there's an increased or enhanced capacity in memory and for focus. Our concentration is improved. Many of our exercise and Rosicrucian studies apply the law of silence and the law of concentration. So without competing sounds for our attention, our working memory can operate without an interruption. And we know through research as little as 2 hours daily in silence can stimulate development of new cells in the hippocampus, the area of the brain that we know is associated with learning and memory. So these and many other things happen to help transform us as a microcosm on the physical level, the mental, emotional level, the psychic level, and the overarching spiritual level. I'm reminded in one of the beautiful aphorisms in Past Imperator Ralph and Lewis's book, Whisperings of Self, which I'll recall on page 12 as the following distillation of insight. No one is free whose mind is not like a door, with a double hinge swinging outward to release their own ideas and inward to receive the worthy thoughts of others. So you notice this expression, worthy thoughts of others. So there's a degree of discretion on our part, that increased sensitivity through meditation for our conscience and our contact with the master within, that most mature part of ourself, our true nature. We'll have more of a discernment as to what to allow in, what to attract, and what a law of attraction, but also to what we want to focus on. In the same way, we can apply the same principles in what we find worthy to speak. Otherwise, we can be in silence. So we see the law of duality here. There's a two-way communication, but it's ultimately leading to that deeper, more mature state of union, or being one with the one spoken of as the goal in mysticism. Now, there may be points in our daily life where we realize that we're seeking distraction, and it causes us to concern to our conscience. We may find that we're trying to outrun our inner conflicts. We may do that by speeding in our car or keeping a lot of unnecessary busyness. We need to avoid that. And that strengthening in meditation and in contemplation and increased presence and identification of the master within will help us do that. And so we're not seeking distraction. We're facing ourselves. Now, it's true, it's good to have some time for entertainment and so forth by the law of balance, but we'll know when we're overdoing it. You know, one of the beautiful ways to think about this law of silence, when I remember many years ago, a psychologist using the phrase existence gains from itself. When we're reflecting, when we're meditating, we can feel a build up energy. We can feel that increased upliftment from the divine within. We can feel that we're actually adding to existence. We're helping the cosmic to become conscious of itself. And while the outer self may be surprised with such experiences, even astonished, even in regard to things that we thought we knew, because maybe we knew them more intellectually or hadn't got the full lesson on them, there's also a deep sense of familiarity as the presence of the master within is increasingly realized as our ever present and true nature and foundation in this dynamic silence. So in thinking about working in silence, we've known that we have an increasing range of technologies for entertainment and communication. While our disciplined and thoughtful selection of such external stimuli can be helpful and enriching, we need to take care to not overindulge in distraction. We need to have a balance of our internal stimuli, cultivated by the practice of meditation, reflection, and critical thinking, for us to learn and grow in understanding. And choosing at times to work in silence has just such a restorative and tonic effect. And then we'll find increasingly that the internal and external stimuli are part of one unity that we come in deeper and deeper into as we take on, increasingly realize the consciousness of the cosmic consciousness, and being at one with the one and expressing that in all that we do. Thank you, everyone. It's great to be with you. Thanks so much for joining with us today. We have some time now. If you'd like to come forward to make a comment briefly or ask a question briefly, I'll ask Paula to allow you to raise your hands, and we'll unmute you and you'll have an opportunity to speak. Thanks so much for all that you do in the way of learning and growing. Kavan, please unmute and come forward to address us. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Peace profound. I was wondering if there are any environments in this modern day that you feel are complementary to working towards that silence and developing that silence.
Yes. Yeah, great question. Now, certainly, one can find that you may have some particular control in your home where you can have the silence. I know sometimes it may be when others are out, for example, or it may be in the early hours in the morning when people are sleeping, for example. There's also, I found even in my workplace, I can sometimes find places where there's quiet. And, you know, going out into nature sounds are commonly very harmonious. and they take us into that silence. They don't find they're not that distracting type sounds. Also, if you could have retreats, we have the domain of silence in La Chute, Quebec. There's times there, for example. But we can also think of this like we did in meditation as a mini retreat. As we increase our attentional control and have those times when we're in silence in our home sanctum, our micro temple in our home, that we'll find that increasingly we can let go of outer sounds and focus in on that inner silence. We're increasingly strengthened. We have more self-mastery to focus our attention on the vibrations and octaves of the cosmic keyboard that we need. But definitely, particularly in the early days or when we're having a challenging time, it's good if we can find that place where we have silence. I know some people like noise canceling headphones, or they pick particular times, places that they can do so. But through some ingenuity, through some visualization, or mental creation, we can find such places. Thank you. Michael, please come forward and unmute and address us.
Thank you very much, Hugh. And so this presentation reminded me of a previous one that you had given, in that in both you showed an image and spoke about details of those images, including the symbolism. And I just wanted to say this is one of my favorite things to do. I live about half hour away from the University of Notre Dame, and they have a museum of art there, and they have a regular monthly practice, just as you have done here, where we sit in front of a work of art and we view it in silence, however many that show up, and we kind of whatever is revealed to us through the spirit, through our own resources, we just sit with that, meditate on it, and that's it, and that's a wonderful thing. There's another practice that's done once a month. It's kind of like a balance to that, and it's exact same thing for the first half, where you're meditating and contemplating on your own. But then the second half, you engage with others. You reveal what is revealed to you. And it's sort of like you did to us when you were revealing that work of art by the American painter. And I like each of them equally. They're both, and that's kind of like that balance you talked about, not just one thing, but multiple avenues of perception and cognition.
Wow, great. Thank you very much, Michael. Great to hear that's underway. Thank you again. Hannah, please unmute and speak with us.
Hi, can you hear
Hi.
me?
Yes, I can.
Thanks for allowing me to ask this question, but I was wondering, how can we use silence to increase our creative faculties?
Great question. We know from scientific studies, but we also know from our Rosicrucians exercising experiences that the practice of meditation boosts our creativity. It also boosts our optimism, boosts our immune system, and a variety of things. So one thing that can be very helpful in the silence, it could be just sitting still and just going with what you want to create the work of art on, or meditate, I should say, reflect on that or contemplate on that, and then go into the deeper silence of meditation. And then during the meditation, or even after, I think you'll find that there's a great influx of impetus of creativity coming forward. Not to over anticipate it, but it will come at the right time when needed. And then things will start flowing. Could be for a painting or a particular artwork. It could be something creative in the arts, the science, the culinary arts. But just the inner self wants to express itself through the outer self, and the outer self needs the inner self to do that, to learn and grow. So once the inner self sees the outer self is curious about creating, growing, working with the cosmic as a co-creator, the flow starts to happen. And so just these practices, silence with that intention, make it happen. And a great question. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Dusty, please unmute and speak with us. You're unmuted, Dusty, but we're not hearing you yet.
Anything else? Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Oh, good. I love these. I just would not miss these Wednesdays. This is my second one. Well, I shouldn't say for anything because you never know, but I just am so appreciating these. And we had our monthly gathering last night at the local Rosicrucian temple. So thank you, thank you. And in the language of the people whose land I am living on, Poma Miwak, I will say Yahweh, which means thank you.
Great.
I love to learn how to say thank you in other people's languages. So
Yes.
my question is, having worked quite a bit with elderly women with dementia and discovering things before others had discovered them, and I'm just so thankful that I was able to do this, that were helpful to them musically and also moving fine motor movement and all sorts of things. My question is about what you said today about as little as 2 hours of silence can grow new cells in our hippocampus.
Yes.
And right now, though I'm not working with women like that, my best friend is kind of having memory issues. I guess I should say or could say, but I don't like to breathe it into being, which is what some of my native elders and indigenous tribes and such say. But I'm noticing more and more of what people might call dementia with her. So that's why I'm asking about that. And that because I know that although she's a very spiritual person, it will be helpful if I could quote some studies or something, that have some proof about that. Do you know what I'm saying? Like clinical studies or
Yes.
something?
Yes. Yes. There's certainly a variety of scientific studies, and the momentum is picking up in terms of the value of meditation in terms of boosting the brain and mental activities, including improving the working memory. There's various scientific studies done on that. One way to get at it is if you've got access to periodical indexes through a research library at a university. Otherwise, there's a still is reasonably good is if you go to Google Scholar, if you Google Scholar and put in keywords along the lines that you just asked the question, you can start to find some resources that way as well. At some points in the future, I've done one presentation on science and meditation. We may do another one where we'll actually talk even more explicitly about these things, Dusty.
I'm wondering if, because she does a form of meditation, and with all due respect, I forget the name of it. It's the same thing that Tina Turner, the singer, did, where she chants Nam Myoho Renge Kyo over and over and over again, which I highly respect. But I'm thinking about silence in particular, because I've noticed that when she's with me, if we're just sitting and just relaxing, she wants to stay busy all the time and she looks at her cell phone all the time.
Right,
So
right.
thinking about silence in particular rather than meditation or
Yes, yes. Okay, well, that's very valuable what you're saying she's doing in terms of that chant. But yes, it'd be good to have some time to reflect in silence, meditate in silence, also even just look at works of art in silence or look at a landscape in silence. It'd be good if she could be encouraged in that. And I think she'd find it quite enriching to balance it with all the other things she wants to do. And it will be assist the health considerably. But maybe we'll finish right now, Dusty. But thank you very much for your questions and comments as always, and your thoughtfulness.
Thank you.
We've got we're about if you need we're just past the half hour. If you need to head out, maybe we'll do one more. I'll ask Ricardo, can you come forward and unmute and speak with us briefly?
Yes. Hi. Good afternoon. And
Hi.
thank you for this presentation. My question is, when we are in our teachings, whenever we are doing an exercise or about to do an exercise, we are guided towards going to our sanctum or finding a quiet place. My question is, should we, as a matter of training or learning ourselves, should we go out and try to learn how to find that silence in the middle of all the noise that it's out there? Meaning trying to meditate in environments where there are a lot of distractions and noise in order to kind of develop a more in-depth ability to meditate in any environment that we face?
Yes, that's very worthwhile to do. Part of the training, the exercises, you can work as much as what to do them under what may be termed ideal conditions, which may be complete silence in the physical sense, and you're feeling very well and so forth. But it's good to do them under conditions that are less than may deemed less than ideal, because then when we really need to do them, and it may not be really able to get to our home sanctum, we can go to our own inner home sanctum in the midst of all that's about us. So it's good. Yes, it's good to have time to practice that. You may wait first to practice on ideal condition, then challenge yourself some more. Then you'll be all the more ready for when, anytime, anywhere, you can do these things and not feel that you're ready. You will be ready. So thank you. That's a great point out to us. Thank you. So at this point, thank you. We can get to some more questions the next time. Thank you for putting your hands up. At this time, I invite Paula to enable the chat if you want to say your greetings to other students and seekers. You can do so now in the chat. And thank you so much for all that you're doing and all the courage you're showing and working in the silence. Thank you.
Thank you so much for everything. Peace profound.
Hi, I didn't know how to unmute. You can hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, that's great. I just wanted to say I reached a very deep meditative state on this, so I want to say thank you truly from the most innermost, because that was one of the most beautiful meditations I've had. It was very deep. Thank you. I'm new here, by the way, so I just received my first lesson and monograph.
Okay.
So my question is, do you have any tips maybe for me as being new, with community and having more structure? Because this whole journey I've been completely doing it on my own.
Well, certainly, stay steadfast in the Rosicrucian lessons,
Yes.
and gradually things will build up. But yeah, please join us if you can get to an affiliate body, if you can get to the Rosicrucian community. There's the resources to do with the Rosicrucian order in the PDF. Some of the links there will link you further to ways to make connections. And it's fantastic to hear your experience and be.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. It was
Thank you.
more than I can explain here. Thank you.
That's the intention. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know how to
Brother Hugh.
unmute. That's all I want to say.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Hugh, and peace profound to all our fellow members.
Thank you.